At 91, Sophia Loren finally speaks up about George Peppard. Sophia Loren was born Sophia Vanni Ciccalone on September 20th, 1934, in Rome, Italy, and raised in the poverty-stricken town of Pudi near Naples. Her early life was marked by hardship and scarcity. She grew up during the chaos of World War II, often taking shelter during air raids and going to bed with stomachs growling from hunger. But even then, young Sophia's stunning beauty and indomitable spirit cut through the squalor. She was a child who dreamed beyond her surroundings, staring at the distant horizon with the hope of one day leaving the shadows of post-war Italy behind. The resilience she developed from those hard, early times would eventually become the bedrock on which her miraculous rise to stardom would stand and fall. That rise began humbly enough when the then 15-year-old entered a local beauty contest, the tantalizing presence of which caught the eye of film producer Carlo Ponti, a man who would alter the course of her life forever. He saw in her not only an arresting physical beauty, but also intelligence, warmth, and charisma. Under Ponti's tutelage, Sophia began working in small roles in films, gradually transforming from the shy, undernourished girl into a confident and mesmerizing screen presence. Their professional relationship soon blossomed into a deep romantic bond, and despite many obstacles that put them asunder, legal and social impediments included, they would later marry and remain devoted to one another for more than 5 decades, until Ponti died in 2007. Sophia Loren's rise to international fame was nothing short of meteoric. Her breakthrough came in the 1950s with starring roles in Italian films like Ada in 1953 and The Gold of Naples in 1954, sending raw talent and passionate performances down the aisles. Unlike many in her era, her ability to express deep emotion through the movement of her eyes and subtle gestures brought forth a deeply moving grace. Loren oozed not only beauty but substance also, depth, and an air of authenticity to every role she played. Her transition to Hollywood marked another era. She became an international sensation, sharing the screen with some of cinema's greats, including Cary Grant, Frank Sinatra, Clark Gable, and Morello Mastroianni. In 1961, her outstanding performance in Two Women, L'Occhio Chiara, by Vittorio Dica, earned her the Academy Award for the Best Actress. It was a milestone. Besides being the first actor to win an Oscar for a performance in a foreign-language film, she secured a place among the most respectable actresses of the world. The role of Cesira, a mother trying to save her daughter from war, dug into the very heart of human angst, an appeal that needed no words. This still remains one of the most powerful depictions of human suffering and maternal love ever captured on screen. Throughout the 1960s and 1970s, Loren continued to dominate both European and American cinema. She brought elegance, humor, and sensuality to her roles in Marriage Italian Style, Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, Arabesque, and The Millionaires. Her collaborations with Morello Mastroianni became the stuff of legend. Together, they created a timeless on-screen chemistry that combined romance, wit, and genuine affection. Loren's presence was magnetic. She carried herself with an aura of dignity and strength, always true to herself amidst the glamour of fame. As the years passed, Loren continued to inspire new generations of artists and audiences alike. She never allowed age to diminish her sense of purpose or her artistic passion. Her later performances in films such as 2009 and The Life Ahead 2020 proved that her talent and emotional depth were as powerful as ever. In The Life Ahead, directed by her son Edoardo Ponti, Loren gave a deeply moving performance as Madame Rosa, a Holocaust survivor taking care of orphan children, a role that beautifully encapsulated her lifelong ability to portray strength through vulnerability. On September 24th, 2023, the world held its breath when news hit the air that the legendary Sophia Loren had suffered a serious fall at her home in Switzerland. The beloved Italian screen icon, whose graciousness and vitality had long defied her years, was rushed to the hospital after sustaining multiple fractures to her hip and femur. The accident, which happened in her private residence near Geneva, was described by close sources as a deeply worrying moment for her family and fans alike. Within hours, Loren underwent emergency surgery led by a specialized medical team that was determined to restore her mobility and prevent further complications. Sophia Loren's personal and marital life has long been linked with the name Carlo Ponti Sr., the illustrious Italian film producer who played the central role in her life, not only in her personal happiness, but also in the formation of her legendary career. Theirs was one of the most fascinating and most enduring love stories in the history of international cinema, a story of deep affection, of artistic and romantic collaboration, and of defiance against convention in an era when their union was controversial before both church and courts. Sophia Loren first met Carlo Ponti in 1950 when she was just 15-year-old, beginning her forays into the world of beauty pageants and acting. Ponti, 22 years her senior and already a successful film producer, immediately recognized her extraordinary potential. He took her under his wings, guiding her through the early stages of her career, securing her auditions, and bringing her image from that of a shy and awkward teenager into a poised and glamorous actress ready for audiences worldwide. What started out as a professional relationship soon blossomed into a deeper connection, an emotional bond founded on mutual admiration, shared dreams, and real love. Their path to marriage, however, was riddled with obstacles. Carlo Ponti was still legally married to his first wife, Giuliana Fiasri, and Italy's strict divorce laws at the time made it almost impossible for him to get a legal separation without the threat of moral and religious condemnation. Despite the legal barriers, Sophia and Carlo's devotion only grew stronger. In 1957, they married by proxy in Mexico, the lawyers standing in for them during the actual ceremony, this move raising a scandal in Italy where the union was not recognized. This marriage was later annulled in 1962 to avoid bigamy charges. But the annulment was not the end of their relationship. Quite to the contrary, it galvanized their determination to stay together against a number of societal and religious pressures. Their love story did win out in the end. In 1966, after years of legal and personal challenges, Carlo Ponti finally gained French citizenship, which allowed him to divorce his first wife and legally marry Sophia Loren once more, this time in Paris. This second marriage signaled the real inauguration of their lifetime partnership, both as husband and wife and as creative collaborators. Carlo produced several of Sophia's most famous films, including Two Women, 1960, which earned her the Academy Award for Best Actress, and Marriage Italian Style, 1964, both directed by Vittorio Dica. Together, Sophia and Carlo went on to build an artistic empire representing the very essence of Italian elegance and refinement on the international stage. Their over 40-year-long marriage was one filled with deep devotion, mutual respect, and shared destiny. Not like many Hollywood relationships that buckled under the pressure of fame, Sophia and Carlo's bond lasted into the decades. They brought up two sons, Carlo Jr., who became an orchestra conductor, and Eduardo, who became a film director, the both of whom carried on the creative torch from their parents. Sophia would always refer to her husband as her great love and credits him for believing in her at a time when few people did, for giving her confidence, and molding her into a world-class actress and a woman of depth and dignity. Carlo Ponti died in 2007, leaving behind in Sophia Loren's life a chasm which could never be bridged. His death trailed the end of an epic in her life, personally and professionally. Still, Sophia has continued to celebrate his memory with grace, often speaking about him as the guiding force behind the greatest achievements of her life. Even now, in her sunset years, she so often looks back upon the journey the two had shared, the laughter, the shared dreams, and the quiet strength of companionship. Theirs is a timeless tale of love that sees them through all adversities, a romantic partnership founded not merely on passion, but on deep understanding, artistic synergy, and unwavering commitment. At 91 years young, Sophia Loren is one of the last remaining legends of Hollywood's golden era, an enduring symbol of beauty, intelligence, and emotional depth. Over a long and storied career, she has shared the screen with many of the most talented leading men of her generation. But there is one name that she has seldom uttered in public: George Peppard. Only now, in later life, does she feel able to speak candidly about their time together, revealing both the admiration and the tests that came from working alongside so complex and intriguing a man. George was a mystery to me, Loren begins softly. He was handsome, talented, but there was something behind his eyes, something troubled, something that wanted to prove itself at every moment. Loren remembered how she had first met Peppard in the early 1960s when both were the height of their careers. Already an international star from luminous performances in Two Women, El Cid, and Yesterday, Today, and Tomorrow, Peppard, by contrast, had just enjoyed his breakout success in Breakfast at Tiffany's, positioning him as one of Hollywood's most promising new leading men. "We met at a dinner in Los Angeles," she recalled. "He was quiet at first, almost distant, but then when he spoke, his voice carried great authority. I could see he was a man who had fought hard to be taken seriously." Loren talked of how Peppard possessed an old-fashioned sense of masculinity, one that was appealing but also occasionally intimidating. "He could be charming," she said, "but he also had pride and armor, you could say, that made it tough to get to know him deeply." Their professional relationship, says Loren, was characterized by respect but also tension. "George was very serious about his craft," she explained. "He wanted everything to be perfect, every line, every gesture. That kind of intensity can be beautiful, but it can also be exhausting. He would sometimes get frustrated when things didn't go his way, and I would just look at him and smile. I told him, 'George, life is not a battlefield.' He laughed, but I don't think he ever fully believed it." Loren's laughter at the memory was tinged with melancholy, as though she were remembering a man who never quite found peace with himself. He wanted recognition, but he also pushed people away. That was his contradiction. The Italian actress spoke candidly about Peppard's reputation in Hollywood, his perfectionism, his stubbornness, and his sometimes difficult personality. "He had a fire inside him," she said, "and that fire burned bright, but it also burned him." She recalled how Peppard's conflicts with studios and co-stars eventually cost him many opportunities that could have made his career even greater. "He didn't always play the Hollywood game," Loren admitted. "He wanted to be respected as an artist, not just a handsome man. I admire that. But in this business, you sometimes have to bend a little, and George never wanted to bend." Still, Loren's tone was affectionate rather than critical. There was a kindness in him that people didn't always see. She said between takes, he could be very gentle. He loved to talk about books, about politics, about the human condition. He was not superficial. He had a mind that was always searching, always questioning. Loren paused, her voice softening. "Sometimes I think he was too intelligent for the world he found himself in. Hollywood is a place that rewards charm more than thought. George had both, but he was never comfortable with the illusion of it all." Reflecting on Peppard's later years, Loren grew visibly emotional. "It made me sad to see how the industry turned its back on him," she confessed. "He deserved better. There was a time when he could have been one of the greats like Brando, like Newman. But fate had other ideas." Loren added that Peppard's struggles with alcohol and personal demons seemed to emanate from the same restless energy that once made him so magnetic on screen. "He wanted truth in everything," she said. "But truth can be painful, and he carried that pain inside him." As for what she would say to George Peppard today, if he were still alive, Loren smiled wistfully. "I would tell him that he was wonderful," she said, "that he didn't have to fight so hard, that his talent was enough." After a long pause, she added quietly, "He was a good man, even when he didn't believe it himself." Sophia Loren's reflections on George Peppard offer a rare glimpse into the humanity of two icons molded by the same exacting world. Her words speak volumes, tinged with wisdom and compassion, not just for her respect of him as an artist, but also for her comprehension of the fragility behind his strength. "We were from different worlds," she concluded, "but I always understood him. Beneath the pride, beneath the struggle, There was a man who simply